We have some exciting news that we wanted to share with you.
So exciting.
In November, the 14th through the 16th, we will be at the NAR Expo in Anaheim, California.
It's like right across the street from Disneyland. Did you know that?
That's amazing.
It's pretty cool. And we have a booth. We're going to have a whole booth where you can come see us, booth number 245.
So come see us and say hi and record a toast that will be aired on the episode.
In your own voice. Can you imagine? It's going to be so fun. I can't wait to hear all of the toast. So we can't wait to see you there. And you can go get your tickets at narnxt.realtor.
See you there.
Bye.
There are plenty of seasoned agents out there making us look bad. Honestly, think my bossiness is sometimes what has made me good in this field.
Yeah.
And I understand that every day that my seller comes home, they see my picture in their yard.
Right.
And they're like, it's her fault.
Smiling
It's
face
not
right there
selling.
in the yard.
It's not selling. I feel like realtors post a lot about how much they drink and socialize.
Right?
I don't know. What's a generic name?
I don't know. Joe Smith.
Hi, y'all. Welcome to Hustle Humbly. It's Alyssa and Katie, and we are two top producing realtors in the Baton Rouge market.
We work for two different companies where we should be competitors, but we have chosen community over competition.
The goal of our podcast is to encourage you to find your own way in business.
So stop comparing yourself and start embracing your strengths.
Okay, hi Alyssa.
Hey, Katie.
It's episode 206.
Okay.
We're just a little bit rusty today. We're going to try to knock the dust off. We took a week off of recording. We are going to talk today about why agents get a bad reputation.
Yeah.
I feel like I should have played. There's so much bad reputation music. I feel like surely there's a Taylor Swift song we could have pulled out from the Reputation album, maybe. But why? Why does it happen? We're going to talk about it.
So many reasons.
Do you want me to start off with the message we received?
Yeah, I think it was very helpful.
Okay, I did not write down the previous professionalism episode, but it was called The 3 Ps of Professionalism.
Mhm.
And it is so good that it is actually taught at the real estate school in Nebraska.
Yeah.
Like they share it. What Van
Oh, I don't remember.
Van Ed? Something.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to look into that, but there is a real estate school that teaches that episode. So, point being, we've talked about this before, but the actual mission of the podcast is bringing professionalism back to the realtor brand.
Yes,
So it's worth talking about repeatedly.
it is.
But here's the message that triggered us this time. This was actually a local person to us that we didn't know, but they did mention they were local. Your podcast is the highlight of my Monday commute. Show idea. Why do agents get bad reps? I am a small-time investor, so I deal with a lot of agents. Typically, if I'm interested in seeing a property, I'll reach out to the seller's agent to get in, and if I like them, I'll use them as a dual agent. I'm not going to even talk about my thoughts on this because, look, everyone's entitled to do it however they want to, but obviously this fella hasn't come across an agent so good that he wanted to keep them around.
Right.
Okay.
And nobody followed up enough to say.
Right, he's obviously bought more than one home.
Yeah. Or like put him up on a search to say, hey, let me send you some other things.
Happy to work with you again.
Nobody.
No, okay, we'll wait for the rest of it. No lie, 80% of the time they are awful. I will want to buy the property and can't get them to answer a call, text, or email. I mean, like he's tried it all.
Right.
I would be so mad if I were selling and they were my agent. That's the part that is like, I was recently interested in a listing next door to my parents and told the listing agent as soon as it came up. She gleefully told me the next day when I reached out again because she didn't follow up with him that it sold in 4 hours. She was so happy about it. He was like, he wanted to put in an offer.
Right.
Like,
he
so
could have bought it.
Right. So that's the end of our local friend. So
Yeah.
look, he's literally talking about agents in our market.
And he's not an agent.
No.
He's just a listener of the podcast.
Right.
Interested in real estate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to help him out and we're going to try and help you all out so that this is not you.
Right.
Please. The most important thing is that our listeners are never the ones who get this type of review.
Yeah.
Never answer the call or the text or an email. I mean, like, okay. How do you want to, what do you want to talk? I mean,
I know our notes on this topic are so many because there are so many avenues where agents go wrong. And I think
Right.
it all sort of starts with the fact that barrier to entry is very low.
Yes.
It is very easy to get your license.
Right.
So even when I served on our local board of directors, at our monthly meetings, we would always have to approve the
Mhm.
long list of newly licensed people that wanted to join the board.
Oh, okay.
And then after that, we always had to vote to approve the longer list of people requesting to leave.
Oh.
So like when you stop being an agent and you want to no longer pay your dues, like there's a little bit of a process.
Okay.
So it wasn't until I served on our board and actually saw the influx, the outflux, the influx, the outflux that I went, gosh, I just wish there was a little bit more that you had to do to get your license.
And then they would be a little stickier.
Yes.
Like we don't want all that turn is what makes it hard for the ones that stay to be viewed as professionals.
Yes. And so a lot of times what we saw too is that this influx of agents would quickly get their license, quickly do one or two deals with someone,
Right.
mess up the deal, make a big mess, hurt the reputation of a realtor, and then quickly realize it wasn't worth the money, the time, and the hassle, and then they go back to their other job.
Right.
So they come in most of the time,
They leave us to pick up the
make
pieces.
a mess, leave us to pick up the pieces.
Yeah.
And then
that's always been one of the hardest things for me is the fact that in a way you feel embarrassed to be a realtor because the overall view in the public isn't good. So you don't come into it feeling, or especially after you've been in it long enough to see this, feeling super proud, even though you know that you're good at what you do and that what you provide is valuable. And like, it took me a lot of years to actually get past that and be able to say, I know what I do is valuable. And just because the overall perception of this field is not so good doesn't mean I'm not so good. I'm doing a good job. What did you have to do to approve them? It was just really like reading through a list.
Yeah, I think that the committee at the board that handles that had already done things like background checks and made sure that they
met
did
their qualifications.
and we're just there to approve and vote them in.
Okay.
So I wasn't involved in the committee that actually approved people.
But you approved everyone.
Pretty much, I think.
I mean, like, you're like, okay, yes.
Because I think to get your license, you have to meet certain qualifications.
Right.
So if you've passed the exam.
Legally.
Yes. If you have passed the exam, you're pretty much in.
Okay.
So it's not difficult,
No.
And I think that new agents sometimes want to rush into money.
Yeah.
And not the education and the training aspect of
Right.
it. And so that can come off as tough too.
Yeah.
It's just it's not all new. It's not all new agents,
certainly
okay?
not.
And there are plenty of seasoned agents out there making us look bad.
Right. That it's shocking that they would and probably don't have repeat business, but just keep bringing in leads however they got those and just keep up with the bad behavior because they don't see the value in doing a good job in order to have repeat referral business.
Right.
That's why we preach that. Like if you do a good job, this career should get easier and easier the more transactions you do because you'll have repeat referral business. When I Googled why do agents get a bad reputation, this is what the Google machine told me.
Oh gosh.
It said most agents don't have enough experience and never gain enough experience to develop into a true professional.
I would agree with that.
And it's especially hard, and if you're new, I know this is a struggle, when so many agents are getting into the business. We peaked at 1.6 million realtors in 2022. The number is going down now in 2023, but that's still, I think what I read was, maybe 20 years ago, early 2000s, there were 900,000 agents.
Yeah,
so
that's a big jump.
It's a big, like there have
almost doubled.
A lot of agents have been added into the system over time. And so the only way that you can get experience is to actually do transactions. And if there are more agents and it's spread out by more people, it does get a little bit tricky. But the agents that are producing are still producing.
Yeah.
So I think you can get experience.
I can remember when people are talking about, is there going to be a recession 2023 coming up and all this stuff. And I went to a few of the agents that have been in the business since like the 70s and 80s that are still working.
Right.
that I highly respect. And I'm like, tell me, you have been through it all.
Right.
Like, is there anything I need to know? And she said, you will be fine.
Right.
If you sell each year
Houses.
and you have experience, you are going to be fine. You are not the one that will, in fact, you may flourish.
Right.
Because people are scared.
Yeah.
And when the public is scared, they want someone that
they
can trust, that has experience, that they see as a hard worker.
Right.
So it's kind of a weeding out time.
Yeah.
Even recession or not, if people are nervous, they're going to start reaching out to those that are consistently there. I think that social media can give newer agents a false sense of security.
Yeah.
I hear a lot from new agents, well, I've posted on my social media that I'm a new agent and that I'm here to sell and I'm just not growing my business. And I said, I know that you think everybody sees that.
But hardly anyone sees it.
And even if they see it, they don't really care. They want to see that you're touring a house, that you're holding an open house, and not that you're doing it once. They want to start seeing a trend here that you're working. And so you have to work. You have to go put yourself out there in situations to gain the reputation. So, but what I have found, I heard someone say this, is that you have a friend that has a job, a regular corporate job. They announce on social media, I'm a realtor, blah, blah, blah. And then 3 months later, they're back at their corporate job. Yeah. So you really have to sort of prove yourself as, are you going to be here long term?
It's a fine line because you do want to let your people know what you're doing, or else how will you become successful? So we're not saying don't tell people and then see what happens, but maybe do the work. Like, you've got to do the work. I also wanted to say, I didn't fully agree with the you can't be professional if you don't have experience line of thinking. There's a lot of things that we teach on the podcast that if you just do the parts of the process the best that you can in a professional manner by what we've told you from our experience, you will be fine. But you don't have to do 10 transactions in order to be a professional. You can do transaction number 1 very professionally, as referenced by how many messages we get about the email templates. And the lender will say, you're a new agent. I can't believe this. This is the most professional email I've ever received. Or the other agent doing the transaction with them, the co-op, is like, I would have had no idea you were brand new.
Right.
So there is a way to cut through all the trial and error and you not having the experience, but you have to take the advice you're being given from your mentor or your broker or this podcast and actually apply it to when you finally do have that transaction.
Yeah, absolutely.
So important.
Whenever I was newer and I was helping my good friend buy his first home, and I did not have a lot of experience. And I think I've even shared the story on one of the previous episodes, but his dad was not super happy about him working with me because they had like an older family realtor that had been in the business for years and years. But he was like, no, Dad, like I want to use my friend.
Yeah.
Well, sure enough, Dad was there, all the showings, giving me side messages.
Right.
He was a super smart person, very engineer brained, would say things like, did you know you can go on this website and find this information? And I just had to be like, I didn't know that. Thank you so much for sharing.
That's very helpful.
And so after the closing, I wrote him a letter, the dad, thanking him for all of his help, all of his wisdom, and expertise, throughout the transaction, and that I was so happy that his son found a good home. Y'all, when I tell you that dad called me 2 months later and I sold him a camp. 2 years later after that, we sold the camp and he bought a bigger camp. He has referred so much business to me. And if I had to think of one person that's my biggest referrer, it would be this dad that I thought would never approve of me.
Right. But you were humbled in that you were like, you know what? Instead of me trying to pretend like I know it all, I'll just be like, wow, thank you so much. I've learned so much from you, sir.
Yes. And I did. Not just actual knowledge, but just how to handle, difficult situations or being pressed for answers when you don't have
When you
them.
don't know them.
I really did learn a lot through that very uncomfortable transaction. And now now he'll call me and say,
Right.
hey, what do I do about this flood insurance?
You're
Like
like-
he's seeking advice from me. And
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, this is great.
We've come a long way.
We have come a long way in 10 years.
No doubt. Okay, should we go through a list
What kind of list?
of the things that we're doing that causes agents to get a bad reputation?
Sure.
The unprofessional
Are
behaviors.
you just going to run through them or?
Well, okay, first of all, Forbes, this is sad, and I didn't want to tell you, but I'm going to tell you. The Forbes magazine says that under the least respected professionals, realtors are ranked number 23rd. There's a few above you, but I mean, think about all the professions in the world.
Yeah, we're in the top 25.
There's lots of them that aren't on this list at all. Okay, and then I found a nice little quickie, 3 reasons why agents get a bad reputation.
Okay.
Number 1 was descriptions. So saying that a house is immaculate when it's actually dirty. Saying that a house is updated when it's actually 50 years old. Like using descriptions for things that are not the truth when the buyer gets there, or altering photos, or, doing these things that would almost be considered false advertising.
Yes.
They're going to see it eventually. Like, we're not trying to trick people into buying houses, but that kind of is the vibe that the public gets when they're like, I don't know if I can believe the photos. I don't know if I can believe the description. I keep reading this and then I show up and that's not even true. I've been to houses that said there were 4 bedrooms and there were 3.
Yeah.
I've been to houses that said all kinds of things. And I'm like, well, right here in black and white,
I can't
it says
even trust
this.
you.
And then it's not. So I thought that was interesting that descriptions fell under that list.
So on a mom note, it was so funny because like Haven used to love blueberries.
Okay.
And then one day she's like, I don't like blueberries anymore. And I'm like, okay, like how come? And, we go back and forth. She's like, I can't trust them. I'm like, what?
You're like, they're blueberries.
They're blueberries. And she's like, yeah, they look good, but you don't know until you put them in your mouth. Are they sweet or are they sour? Sometimes they're delicious and sometimes they're not. And now I don't trust them anymore and I'm not even going to eat the sweet ones.
She's like, I'm done.
And I'm like, that's kind of how realtors are.
It's fair.
Sometimes, the
They're
listing
good.
is accurate and sometimes it's not.
So
and
then
instead
you're
of giving the good ones a chance, she just is
like,
not
I don't
going
want any.
None. Not taking any anymore.
You can't trick me if I'm not even
I
in the
don't
game.
trust you, you blueberry.
Oh my God. So true. It's so true.
Trust issues.
Oh my God. Number 2, and this one is the one we can probably stay on all day, communication. The number 1 easiest way to be a professional and get a good reputation is to simply answer your phone, answer a text, respond to an email. Right away? No, but maybe within a respectable amount of time.
Yeah.
Most of these people who are complaining about communication never got a response.
Right.
Not a day later or 2 days later. It doesn't have to be, we work 24/7. I will answer you at 10 p.m. But if I can't answer you at the next business day and I never answer you, how many times have you reached out to an agent with a question about their listing and they literally never answer?
Oh, so many times.
I couldn't even keep count.
Yeah.
Are they trying to sell the property? I don't feel like. I feel like they tricked a seller into letting them have their listing and then they just checked out.
And then you have the flip side. Okay, so you have the ones that like don't communicate, you can't reach them. And then you have the ones that buy billboards to say 24/7, call me.
Please don't.
24/7. That makes us look bad too.
I wish that we need to call some of these people and see what their response time is. I'll be like, it's 2 a.m. You said.
Wouldn't it be fun if we like prank called those people? Maybe we could do it and share the audio.
I heard that you work 24/7. I was busy during normal business hours, and I just was up, and I couldn't stop thinking about your listing.
Yeah,
it's 2 a.m.
I work night shift, so it's 2 a.m. I was so glad to see you're available 24/7. That'll fit my schedule.
Can you send me a CMA right now?
Yeah, it would be fun to like call until they answer. Like, okay, this is the 13th time we've called your number and leave voicemails. Hey, is this the 24/7 realtor? That's what you said, and I know it's 3 a.m., but I'm just I saw
I'm a night owl.
Yeah, I saw you were open, so I just wanted to call and leave you a bunch of messages until you answered.
When you set up your Facebook business or your Google business profile, it asks for business hours,
Yes.
and there were a lot of agents that put in 24/7. I'm like,
Don't do it.
That's not true.
Mhm.
And if it is, please don't.
You know, in the Hustle Humbly community, we created our Google business accounts.
Mm-hmm.
So we went through and did a project together where we all set up our accounts. And you know
Mhm.
what it does, Google does, that I didn't know that I love?
What?
It'll say, hey, there's an upcoming holiday. Do you need to edit your business hours?
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, yes.
You're right. I will.
I should. Thank you, Google
That's
Business.
what restaurants do. or
That's what
offices.
all businesses do.
You're a business.
You're a business, and we need to
Mhm.
run it like a business. It's okay to
Right.
set hours.
No doubt. Okay, while we're on the communication topic, I also don't like when you literally cannot get an agent on the phone if you want to. They only text.
Mhm.
Like, I'm okay with my clients having a communication preference, but if I need to talk something out with an agent, or I would like like in your case, you would prefer them to email. You're going to lose a text. Like when they will only text and the text are like the
So
whole
long.
screen, I'm like, this should
Can
have
we
been a
call?
call or an
Yeah.
email. There is a limit to what a professional text. I don't know that there is necessarily a need for texting, right? Like,
Yeah.
can't we go in a more professional route? But if you text, that's fine. I text with work. That's okay. But you can't force me to, like,
If we have a problem and we need to discuss something, let's pick up the phone, talk it
Right?
out. I think hearing someone's voice,
it can solve a lot of problems.
100%.
Right? Because you put whatever tone you want on a text or an email.
I was just negotiating multiple offers on a listing that I have, and it was really close because we had a cash offer that was a little bit lower,
Okay.
and then we had a financed offer that went over list price by a good bit.
What did you choose?
So I was really on the fence. I wasn't super comfortable with the pre-approval letter because it was a lender from out of state.
Oh.
And so I sent from the email template package the questions that we send to the lender.
Yeah.
Hey, I've received an offer. I
Yeah.
have these questions. Okay.
Yeah.
She called me, the lender did, immediately
Mm-hmm.
and was like, hey, I just wanted to introduce myself. I know I'm an out-of-state lender. I know these buyers personally, which is why they're using me.
Okay.
We do have a branch in your marketplace, so you don't have to worry about us not having local appraisers.
Okay.
When I tell you these people are solid, like we chose them.
I love that.
We did.
But
And
her phone call,
if she would have just responded and said, yep, everything looks good.
you might have been like, I don't know.
Yeah, but is it worth the risk? She sold me. And I told her that. Like after I sent her the accepted contract, I said, I just want to let you know, and your realtor, the buyer's realtor, I want to let both of y'all know that this lender's phone call saved the deal. Like
Yeah.
that's why we chose you. She answered all my questions. And she's been great.
That's perfect. I'm so happy. Examples of this abound
Yeah.
where a phone call made a difference.
On the communication aspect of it, I had several notes that so many realtors they don't want to mess up the deal or lose a client by being too pushy.
Yeah.
And on a communication issue there is that they are not explaining how fees work.
Mhm.
They're not guiding their buyers through the pre-approval process and explaining to them
Right.
closing costs and what's really needed. They don't, and like you should never get to the closing table and a seller be surprised that they're paying you.
No.
It happens. It happens. Yes.
I don't understand.
I know. Mm-hmm.
A lot of these topics make my head feel like it's going to explode.
I know.
So it's really hard for me to like get through it. I'm like, look, people make mistakes. I get it. But like you cannot take a listing without a net sheet.
Right.
If you can't tell a seller that they have closing costs that they have to pay to cancel their mortgage and get the title work done and all that are associated to them, if you can't tell them what your commission is, you have no business taking that listing.
Mhm.
They should know what their approximate net is the moment you take the listing.
Yes.
And then you can redo it when they get an offer based on the offer.
I have gotten to where, so I think we have that net sheet in one of the
Yes,
templates.
it is.
But I have gotten to where I go back to that template and copy and paste it and include it every time I'm delivering an offer.
Yeah.
Like I just use it all the time because I want to have documentation
I
that we
leave-
have been over this.
Right. And I leave nothing to chance on a net because a lot of times people get hung up on the little details like, well, this is less than our list price. And I'm like, yeah, but when we talked about your net, we allowed for $5,000 to negotiate.
Mhm.
They're only asking for $3,000. You're making more money than when we took the listing. And they're like,
Mhm.
oh,
Right.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
But you have to have the previous one to be able to be like, look, this is what we talked about before.
Mhm.
And here's what we're getting.
We talk a lot about this in episode 113, Be the Boss.
Oh, yeah.
So we usually let the clients tell us what to do.
Right.
I don't operate that way. I
No.
honestly think my bossiness is sometimes what has made me good in this field.
Yeah.
Is that I want to take control of the situation, guide you through the process,
Mhm.
explain everything to you,
Yeah.
let you know that I'm going to handle everything because
Right.
that's in my nature. But so many times as realtors, the buyers will send us 10 houses and we say,
Yeah.
okay, I guess we better go see all of these.
No.
Instead of saying, hey, I checked the property disclosures on all 10. Here are my notes on all 10 properties you have sent me. Based off of this, I think we should see these 3 or 4.
Yeah.
That will save them time. It will save you time. And it just adds to your credibility. But so many times we are nervous to give them any negative feedback.
Because we're so hungry for the business.
Mm-hmm.
It's hand in hand. If you're not going to be honest and give them the real truth, then they're going to, later on, they're going to find out and they're going to have a bad feeling about you.
Okay, so speaking of that, I was reading an article this morning. It was
Okay.
like on one of the news sites that I follow,
Okay.
that right now in 2023, buyer's remorse is on the rise.
Right.
So they were kind of saying that they rushed to buy these houses, probably overpaid a little bit the last few years,
Yeah.
feel like they're stuck now
Mm.
because interest rates are so low
Mm.
and now everything else is so expensive.
Mhm.
And a lot of times they are blaming their realtor.
Yeah.
They feel like the realtor did not take the time to explain the process,
Yeah.
explain what the due diligence period is about.
Yeah.
I think that the due diligence episode that we did somewhat recently would be really good for you to go
Right.
back and listen to, because that is our time to make sure the buyer is comfortable
Yeah.
with their decision.
Yeah.
And when people have buyer's remorse, they don't want to look within and blame themselves. They
No,
want to
they're gonna
point the
blame you.
fingers. Yes, they want to point the fingers. And the realtor is the first in line. The same thing happens with the seller. I mean, as we have kind of entered this market shift, I have a few listings that are sitting right now
Mhm.
that are not, selling in 24 hours like
Yeah.
they were the last 2 years.
Right.
And I understand that every day that my seller comes home, they see my picture in their yard.
Right.
And they're like, it's her fault.
Smiling
It's
face
not
right there
selling.
in the yard.
It's not selling. And I always say that my goal, more than anything, more than selling the house, my goal is to treat them in a way that if it expires or if they fire me and they ever switch agents, that they realize what they had.
Right.
I want them to be like, dang, at least when we had Alyssa, we heard from her.
Right.
She was doing things.
Mhm.
She was always working and
Yep.
keeping in touch with us. And so with communication, when we get scared, if the house isn't selling, we stop calling
Yeah.
and they don't hear from us. And we can't do that. We
No.
have to, my goal is always to call them before they call me.
Yeah.
It works most of the time.
Right.
Mhm.
It works most of the time.
Yes.
Okay. The last one from our list of 3 on this article I found was buying a listing. And it goes hand in hand with what you just said. If you don't tell the seller what the actual value of their home is and you let them set the price and you just say yes because you want the listing,
Mm-hmm.
this is it. You're headed down a road that is going to be a disaster. It's not going to sell. It's definitely not going to sell for that price. They're going to fire you. You're just going to expire. Something's going to happen to where at the end of it, they're like, you were terrible. You didn't
Mhm.
sell my house. But in the beginning, if you would have said, that's about 10,000 high or 20,000 high, or you're 100,000 off of where you need to be, and they priced it correctly, it probably would have sold.
Yeah.
And you have to shoulder that burden. You cannot sell an overpriced listing.
No.
Without a seller that's going to end up unhappy. Because at some point, you're going to have to take a lower offer, change the price. It doesn't sell at all. But either way, I like that they called that buying a listing. When you just tell a seller, oh, no, you don't need to stage that. You don't need to, whatever price you think, sure, that sounds good. Like you have to be the professional.
That's a good point. You're like basically lying to get the listing. You're buying it.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I'll tell you whatever you want to hear. Would you like to join us in the Hustle Humbly community?
Coming up on July 20th, our group live is about setting up and using your email list. And if you listen to episode 202 with Jenna Kutcher, you know how important this is.
We would love to get to know you better inside of the community, so head on over to hustlehumblypodcast.com/membership.
See you there. I'm the second listing agent on a house right now, and they had started off way too high. And they were kind of stuck on that number. And I said, listen, I understand that you had it there, but it should have never been there in the first place. I would have never taken the listing at that number. So I'm kind of having to work backwards with helping.
You're having to undo the damage done.
I am.
How much difference is it when you listed it?
It was about we listed it 40,000 under.
40,000. And that's a tough pill to swallow as a seller.
And it's not selling right now.
Even at the... No.
So we're about to have some more conversations. I have a few other things I'm doing to work on that, but it's just hard because they have anger and frustration from agent number one. And so I am taking the brunt of a lot of that, even though I'm working very hard and I'm communicating and I know what I'm doing. And that's where it goes back to me having to set emotional boundaries and be like, that's okay. I understand you're frustrated. I'm going to keep doing my job though. And I sleep at night.
Because you are doing your job.
Because I am doing my job. Mm-hmm. The nights that I have trouble sleeping is when I'm like, I should have called that person.
Yeah.
I didn't call them today and I needed to. We need to discuss this. But when I do what I know I'm supposed to do, even if the client is unhappy, if I know that I did what I was supposed to do, it doesn't affect me.
Right.
I can still keep my confidence.
Yeah.
I wrote down episode 146, which is our confidence episode.
Oh, great.
So I feel like for this episode, the 3 Ps of professionalism.
Which is number 23.
23.
Okay.
Be the boss, 113. And the confidence episode, 146.
Yeah.
They all go hand in hand. So if you feel like this is a topic that you're really struggling with, I would go back and listen to those this week.
Yeah.
Get that mindset right.
How you behave and what you do as far as work is how you show you're professional. Not what you drive.
No.
How you dress. It's not sharing your numbers all the time. Like, that doesn't tell people you're a professional.
No.
It may make you look a fancy business card, a special website. None of these things make you a professional in the eyes of your client, because as soon as they start working with you, they're going to know.
They will know.
They're going to know. Like, oh, well, you looked like you were professional, but you actually aren't handling this in a professional manner.
After we listed, we never heard from you.
Right.
Or like buyers now are like, well, my realtor never sends me houses, or my realtor doesn't, vet things with me. So one of the things that I had wanted to touch on, because it came up a lot, is that realtors lose credibility because they make it all about them.
Yes.
Like, how many times do you see a flashy dressed realtor giving a video house tour, but the camera is on them the entire time and not the house?
Right.
Like, okay, let's make it about the product, but we want our faces everywhere and how we dress. And
again,
just be
fine
careful.
Line, because you are your brand and you are your business. So you can't be hidden, like you need to be there. But you're right. What is the motivation? How did that help your client, or how was that helping your future clients? Like, what is the service you're providing by being the only one in the video and you didn't actually see the house? Or like, is it self-serving, or is it actually a value add to your possible client or your audience? I mean, it is hard because it's a fine line. You want to be there and you want to provide value, but it's not all about you.
No.
It's about them. And what are you doing to help them? Yeah, I think the problem is that realtors get a bad reputation because the ones that are flashy are so flashy.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, there's so many of us that are hustling humbly.
Yeah.
But the ones that are, it's just like anything with social media, especially, the people who talk about things are loud, but the people who maybe are doing the work are busy and are quiet. But you're going to have to
and if you looked at the bank accounts of each of these people, you would see a huge difference.
Well, right. It is expensive to be fancy.
It is.
And to have all of the bells and the whistles and the flashiness.
And if you let your service speak for you, the income will come and you won't have to dish it all out to get flashy appearances.
Yeah. Hand in hand with that, I think another reason, and realtors are glamorizing the business.
Mhm.
And that's why we get a bad reputation, because the public's like, looks like fun. That seems easy. Oh, there you are selling another luxury property while you eat, hors d'oeuvres and drink champagne on your broker tour.
Well, that's another thing too. I feel like realtors post a lot about how much they drink and socialize.
Right.
And it's like, man, realtors, they're just always having a cocktail.
Yeah, but the good ones are also sweeping up cockroaches.
Yeah.
But they don't post that. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like the good ones have to go into stinky houses.
Mhm.
But it made me think of like our friend Amy Cotney, who's been on the show, who posts 1,000,000 trillion reels and TikToks. But she will tell you, today I'm sweeping.
Yes.
Like today I'm sweaty because I had to paint this thing that my client didn't do. Like
I had to pull the trash cans in.
I had to pull weeds.
Yeah.
I have rolled so many trash cans to so many places,
Mhm.
but no one, you have to share that part too, so that also the public's like, wow, like you really are, you're working, like
Yes.
you're doing some stuff. You're not just out having hors d'oeuvres and champagne.
Right.
You're rolling up the trash can. It's
Yeah.
okay to have a mix of these things, but if you only focus on what looks good and glamorous, that's why we get a bad reputation.
So I share this next story, not because I think if you drive a luxury car, anything is wrong with you.
Okay.
It's just a true story that you hear something and it kind of like sticks in your head forever and
Let's
you like
hear
can't
it.
get it out. Okay. I had a listing probably 3 years ago.
Okay.
And the husband, he was always someone that kind of intimidated me because he was very like dominant and wanted to kind of tell me, but I was kind of pushing back. But we got along. But it was like a power struggle at times. And of course, we get the house under contract and it was not a great agent on the other side.
Oh no.
And it just got messed up for I really feel like if it had been a better agent, those buyers would have worked the house.
Okay.
And when I had to call my seller to let him know that they were canceling, and I didn't really have like a great reason for him, the first thing he said was, I knew the second that kid got out of his Mercedes in his suit that this was going to be a problem. So when he showed the house,
oh no,
because people have cameras. They can see what you drive, what you wear, how you talk. They can hear you. They can hear you.
They
can hear you on video surveillance. And I think that has been a big thing with hurting realtors, is that they hear that when the buyers ask us questions, sometimes you don't know the answer to the things you should know the answers to.
Right.
But he said, I just knew it. I just knew this is not going to be good. And I was right. And I thought, I wonder if he would have been driving a Toyota, if my seller would feel differently, or if he would have presented himself differently.
Who's to say?
I know, but I'm not saying that's the right judgment. I'm just saying that
was what the public saw.
That's what the public saw. That's what my seller felt. And the realtor that showed up and looking the part did not get the job done. So
because he was probably a little bit busier looking the part than learning the business.
And it's okay to look the part.
Yeah, but you also have to learn the business.
You have to have the experience and humility to do the training as well.
Right. Okay, let's talk about this one again because it bears repeating. The oversharing of your numbers, and stop and take a moment and think. What are the other professions that constantly tell you how much money they make?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I don't know that there are any that are like, this is how we value ourselves. But I feel like the public doesn't understand those numbers, especially if you start sharing volume numbers. I did $9 million in volume. Well, you didn't make $9 million.
No, and I actually had, because our company shares our monthly stats for us on our company page. And I had this guy I used to work with at Raising Cane's when I was 16, who's like, wow, you're a millionaire now. And I was like, no dude, no, that's not how this works, But
it's a way to make you look fancy and important that the public doesn't get it. And they also don't want to see it. And in the worst case scenario, it turns them off and they don't want to work with you.
I see flip sides to both of this.
Well, sure.
I feel like at times sharing your numbers or how many houses you sold shows how much you are working.
I love when people share and they say they've helped this many families or
Yeah,
people or
yeah.
clients. There's never a reason why you need to say what the number was. Like you could say the number of transactions.
Sure.
There's never, you cannot convince me there's a way that you have to share your volume number in order for you to be valuable. I don't believe it.
I don't think that that's what makes you valuable.
But what's the point of sharing it?
It does show your success. Enneagram 3 here.
Point?
Enneagram 3 here.
Right,
that is proud of my accomplishments.
But okay, tell me for the public's perspective, what is for them to gain from that?
Whenever our company shares our numbers, I get a plethora of texts or messages, or when I share my year-end review.
Sure, I love your year-end review.
But it has my volume on there.
But it doesn't need it.
But I like it there. I like it there.
You can put it there, but I am telling you, as the public looks at it, and as an agent who's never been at the top of their office, and I don't like it. It doesn't make me feel good as an agent looking at other agents.
I will say that at the year-end review, I do get some messages from agents that are like, dang, I wish I could do how did you do it?
Right.
I wish I could do what you do. And I think it opens up for really good conversation.
Well, that's good.
I think that it has allowed me to really ask them some questions, give some guidance and encouragement. But here's why I think I'm okay with sharing mine is because I know that they're true. I know that they're not deceiving. I know that Alyssa Jenkins, sold that many houses.
You should be proud of what you've done.
I do have problems when numbers are shared, but maybe not explained, and there does need to be a little asterisk.
Right.
So, for example, as a solo agent, when I share my numbers, there is no asterisk that says, Alyssa Jenkins is a team of 5, and so this production, blah, blah, blah. Like, when I share what I did for the year as an Enneagram 3 and as my personality, I am driven by my numbers. We're all driven by different things.
Sure.
Okay. So for me personally, I like to look at my year-end review and be like, wow, look at this trend. And I like to track my numbers. I'm numbers driven.
Right.
Okay. How it makes agents that don't sell as much feel bothers me not. Okay.
Sure.
It does show I get other messages. I can't tell you how many times a phone call starts with, hey, Alyssa, we need to sell our house. And we know that you do a lot of business.
Sure.
We know that you sell a lot of homes. We know that you do a lot of volume.
Right.
Okay. So and we like you. So here you go. But it starts that way for me a lot of times. And our businesses are different. So for me, I think being able to handle the volume has always been something that has set me apart.
Yeah.
Because the volume doesn't stress me out like it can stress out others.
For sure.
It's sort of like my unique thing that I don't know why I'm made this way, but I handle it better when it's heavy volume.
Right.
If it's low volume, that's actually when I struggle and things slip through the cracks.
Mm-hmm.
So as someone that—
You need the extra pressure.
Right. So the numbers thing, I think, gives me credibility. It does set me apart. It shows that I'm different, and it does show that I'm in the top, which is something that I'm proud of, and I'm not afraid to say that.
That's fine. You can be proud of it. I think that's okay for you to be proud of it. I just am, as a person who has struggled the entire 17 years I was in this business, trying to convince myself it's okay to not be in the top, that will never make me feel good. Looking at your numbers as another agent is never going to make me be like, yeah, I can do it too. Because I don't actually want to do that. But it took me over 14 years probably to even feel that way. And so for 14 years, I felt pretty crappy.
Yeah.
I felt like, God, I'll never be that good. I'll never be the top of my office. I'll never have those kind of numbers. And sure, I would like to work. Like, it is definitely something that I think you'll never know the flip, because you'll only get the messages from the people who either you have a good conversation with or who are proud, or you'll get the clients who say, I saw this. You can't possibly know how many people saw it and said, that made me feel sad today.
I would encourage,
or that made me feel
and that's
like,
why I think this podcast is so good.
Yeah.
Because if my post of my success makes you feel sad, I don't think I'm the one that has a problem.
Sure,
I think that it's the person.
No, and you're not responsible for how other people feel about what you
But I care
post.
about them.
But as a business owner, you could check your numbers and be driven by your numbers without sharing them to the public.
Sure.
I mean, like,
but I mean,
it's possible.
Forbes ranks companies.
Yes.
Like companies are ranked. I think in real estate, it's a little bit different because of the numbers, but I encourage you.
Because you're a person, you are a business and you're a person. So it's harder because it's not like Coca-Cola.
Right.
It's less company vibe. It's
Yeah.
more of I'm a person
like,
and I'm my business, right?
Which makes me more proud.
You should be.
So I think that if you are an agent that has struggled, and that's why I have loved that you have shared your struggles over the years, because you have come to a place, and I think the podcast has helped so many come to a place where you don't have to you can look at other people's numbers and say, good for them.
Yeah, for sure.
Because my goal right now, my season of life right now is I want to be a $4 million a year agent.
Right.
And I love that the podcast is helping spread the message that that's okay.
That is okay.
And that our goal, one of the biggest reasons we started this podcast is because you and I are so different.
Yeah.
And we operate differently. And you do so many things in your business that I'm like, I wish my brain worked that way, to where I had that in my business, but it doesn't work for me. And I wish it did, because I'm impressed by it. And
well, everyone runs their business differently.
And that why us being so different and seeing like you evolve into cutting back on real estate and like having your agent systems, and like it really is about finding your own way in business. And I know y'all hear that every week when we do our intro, but like we are here to encourage you that no matter what your volume is, if you are proud of it, that's all that matters. Saying that, an agent, me posting that I'm super proud of my $25 million year is fine. And it also gives you the right to say, I am so proud that I sold $2 million this year.
Sure.
I'm so excited. So discriminating against a high number versus a low number?
No, I actually don't like the behavior no matter the number.
No matter the number. Well, I think as long as you're proud of it.
But we're talking about why realtors get a bad reputation and what the public sees. And that's the only way I'm not having a conversation about you should or shouldn't be proud, what I'm saying is, why do agents get a bad reputation? It's the behavior that the public sees. And like I said before, they don't understand it. They don't know a $2 million in volume or a $25 million in volume, what that actually means in your bank account. But I don't think
sharing numbers hurts the public.
I do.
Why?
Because I feel like it makes realtors look like they're more about the flashy part of that business. Like, look at me. Okay, how much money does your dentist make?
But they could say,
but why? They don't need to tell you how much they make.
Well, they don't have volume.
Why? They have a number of patients.
I understand.
This is what every business has volume. Every business has revenue, whether it's a doctor, a lawyer, lawyers are a great example. Think about a personal injury lawyer that puts the commercial on TV, and I got my clients $500,000.
Right.
How does that feel?
Yeah.
I guess it's just, that's a deeper conversation. But the point of this particular episode is, why do realtors get a bad reputation?
I know. I'm kind of glad we divoted into this podcast therapy, though, because it's really just...
Because ultimately, I literally, as a human in the world, can't think of another profession where it is commonplace for them to share how much money they make.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not posting on social media, this month I made $65,000. I understand that by production, anybody can figure anything out.
That's why I would prefer you to say I did 50 transactions and helped 50 clients.
Right.
That's because it doesn't give it an automatic feeling that you're talking about money. As soon as you give it a volume number,
it's the money that makes you feel icky. It
makes the public feel icky. This isn't about me. I don't like it for a whole other reason.
And it's hard because I'm sure there's public people that have maybe seen it and feel icky. I get so much positive feedback that I don't get the icky vibes.
Because there are people that are proud of you and that are impressed by that. But again,
and refer me because of it.
But you have no clue how many people saw it and were like, she's too busy for me, or I don't like... That's the flip of the coin is you can't know the people that don't tell you.
But if they feel that way, we probably wouldn't be a good fit.
Fine. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
That's totally fine.
Yeah.
The point is just what is the overall viewpoint of people seeing realtors?
I think that volume, to me, sharing money volume, only gets icky when it isn't explained and needs to be explained. So, for example, when they say, you know, I don't know, what's a generic name?
I don't know. Joe Smith.
When Joe Smith sold 150 million last year, I think it is important for the public to understand that Joe Smith is a team of 20.
Right.
And that it is, you know, divvied up so that they can understand.
And there are members of the public that will want to work with Joe Smith because he's obviously selling a lot of real estate. And there are members of the public who won't want to work with Joe Smith because he seems like he's busy with selling a lot of real estate.
Yeah.
There are members of the public that don't care if Joe Smith shows up in a Mercedes and a suit and says whatever. And there are members of the public but the point is that realtors are ranked on a list that says they are a least respected profession. And the point is that behavior is extremely commonplace. We talk about it in episode 2, the culture of the real estate industry. The point is that every spring, every real estate company has an awards banquet and everyone shares. And is it okay to be proud of what you do? 100%. But we are so... It's the real estate column of the newspaper, right?
Yeah.
Here's all of the people who kept posting all this stuff in the real estate section. And the big joke was the only people reading the real estate section are other realtors. We have a very self-serving, and maybe it's because there's so many of us, and maybe it's because it is competitive and, you know, it's just a little bit different, but it's not. I think it's something we should take stock in. Like, what is your behavior? How does the public see you? And if you want to know why realtors get a bad reputation, it's because they don't answer their phone and they tell us how much money they make. And it's a whole laundry list of reasons.
And how you do things, I think, is important. I feel like I'm approachable enough that no one would say, I can't call her, she's too busy, or she's too uppity and expensive, she's not going to work with me. Like, I feel like I can testify because I know what my DMs look like that's not the case.
No,
you know,
I don't think it would be.
Yeah.
I'm not concerned about that at all for you. Like, this is by no means a personal attack on you ever sharing your volume number. It's not. I believe that your people do see your value because when you post your new listing or when it sells, you tell us the story and what you went through and what happened. But do I also think you could completely remove the volume share and just do what you do, all the other posts you do, and get the exact same results? 1,000%.
Sure.
But that's okay. You do whatever makes you comfortable in your business, which will lead me to one of the other things that I think causes agents to get a bad reputation. And that's they're so desperate for clients that they pressure them.
Yes.
And they don't use my favorite word with clients, which is, are you comfortable? What makes you comfortable? Are you comfortable with selling your home? Do you know you're are you comfortable buying this house? Like, just in the market when it's busy, you don't get to control the comfort level completely, but you at least need to have the conversation. And I think when we're really desperate for those sales, that's when we get a very bad reputation. And that's when the buyers do have buyer's remorse, like you're talking about. Like, you're just like trying to push them along because I got to get this sale done. You know, like that, I think, is a huge problem.
Yeah. And I think I noticed too in a lot of our Monday morning meetings at the office, I was always trained that we should be involved in making sure that they're comfortable with their monthly note. Yes, have a lender that you trust. But when I have a buyer that comes to me already pre-approved and says, hey, I'm pre-approved for $250, my first question is, awesome. How do you feel about that monthly note?
Right.
Well, I actually don't know what that monthly note is.
Right.
Like, oh, well, we need to make sure we understand our numbers before we go into any houses. Because the last thing I want to do is write an offer only to cancel during inspections because you didn't understand the money.
You know, the worst side of that would be the unprofessional agent who just like, $250, great, let's go buy it. And then they get all the way to closing and see their monthly note and they're freaking out. And they're just kind of like, oh, well, you said you wanted to buy it.
Yeah. We had a situation like that recently where a buyer tried to cancel towards the end because of the monthly note.
It's very frustrating.
It is.
Okay. I also wanted to say, I think another reason why they get a bad reputation is that they lose their clients' time and money. So think about expired listings or something, you know, they don't they don't sell, their agent doesn't behave well, whatever, just like when you pick up a listing from someone who already had it, if they've cost a client time, especially money, what if they've moved and the house is vacant now? Like that's money, that's time. This is how we get and then you are basically digging out of a hole, right? Like you show up second and you're like, I swear I'm a professional.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I've had to have this conversation. I promise you, I am sorry you had a bad experience with your last agent or your agent 5 years ago, or more often than not, the public has had a bad experience with a realtor.
Sure.
They didn't answer the phone. They didn't do the job they were supposed to do. They didn't, whatever it was, something terrible happened during a transaction years ago. They bought a house they hated. Like there's so many reasons why they're like, and maybe they want to blame a realtor, and maybe it really was their agent's fault for not really doing a good job.
I've said many times in front of clients, like, look, not all agents are created equal.
For
and
sure.
I apologize on behalf of the ones that are not doing a good job.
Right. And look, not all dentists are created equal either.
Right.
But I think for some reason, we have too many bad apples.
We do.
And so you're always trying to like apologize and make up for and like overcompensate for the bad agents. And we just don't want our listeners to be the bad agents.
Right.
We want them to be the good ones, and which means you are going to probably have to dig out of some holes from the bad ones. But the more people that listen and the more people that put professionalism on a pedestal in their business it's going to make a difference. You know, it will make, because I have clients now who would be like, my agent was great and I don't have anything bad to say about realtors, right? Like it works the reverse.
Yeah.
We just need more. It's always like that one bad apple.
Yeah, ruins the whole batch.
I mean, and they really do.
What is that? Oh gosh, I don't want to get it wrong. It said, your thoughts are like the laundry. I left that one black sock in the white load and it ruined the whole load.
Oh, right. Exactly.
The one bad thought can just ruin your whole thing.
Because when realtors do something wrong, it's so wrong.
Yeah.
You lost someone a house. Like it's big dollars, right? Like it's a major mistake. It's like a legal like something really bad could happen.
Yeah.
So I think that the problems are really big. Do you have any other things that realtors do to get a bad reputation?
I just think that the list could go on and on and on. I did want to cover that with the email templates, using things like the buyer rules.
Yeah.
Going back to having your systems and processes in place to where you are explaining to the buyer, hey, like now that we're in a relationship as a realtor and a buyer, this is how this works.
Yeah.
I am your realtor, and being confident enough and being the boss enough to explain that process to them so that they understand not to call signs, not to click buttons, to call you when they have a house, you know, like I am your person, but we have to be confident enough to explain that to them. So just keeping up, I mean, so much of that, 90% of this goes back to communication.
Yeah.
Lack of communication, how you're communicating to the public, how you're guiding the buyer through a process. Are you communicating with the seller when a home doesn't sell? It's not about the sale. It's about how they were serviced through that experience.
Yeah, for sure. There are agents who look at commission numbers and don't show houses with different commissions.
I know,
like
which
that
is so
blows
slimy.
my mind.
So slimy.
Like you shouldn't even look at it, whether it's $200 or $2,000. Like you have to serve your client, because if that's the house they want to see, that's the one you have to show.
Yes.
There's so many ways you can. My number one note was, this should be harder to talk about. Like, it should be like, oh, I can't really think of a whole episode worth of things you do wrong.
Right.
But there's a lot of them.
So many.
There's so many.
Hopefully through the work of the podcast, it will get lower and lower.
Look, our listeners for sure are going to be ahead of the curve for professionalism.
Well, just the fact that they listen shows they want to improve.
Yeah, learn and get better.
Learn and get better.
Learn from other people's mistakes too.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to make them. Oh my. Are you ready for a toast?
Let's do a toast.
Are you going to be mad at me when we hang up? I feel like we're going to hang up the phone and you're like, you were rough on me today.
I'm not mad at all.
Okay,
I feel like you were rough on me.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like I wasn't trying to be rough on you. Just want you to know it's okay for you to share your volume if you're proud of it.
I don't want to make you sad.
I can't help that. It doesn't make me sad anymore. If that makes you feel better.
And that's the journey we want to take people on.
Right. It doesn't make me sad anymore. I'm like, you do you. That's great.
You grew.
But I still, as a very proud professional and that loves this profession, I would love for no one to ever share that.
Okay. It's very interesting.
Because I would prefer them to share all the ways they were valuable to their clients and the number of people. Because people can have a high volume number and be really bad agents.
For sure.
So that is not an actual indicator for me that your clients were treated well, that you provided. You provide value to your clients. I have no doubt about that. You, Alyssa Jenkins, are doing a great job. But the fact that you have a high volume number does not in itself make you
it's not the one
professional, good, valuable agent who cares about, it just doesn't.
Sure.
So I would love for people to get more in the habit of being like, here are all of my good reviews.
Yeah.
That is a lovely way for you to be proud and share how you helped another person and get that social, street cred, social proof. That to me, I would love for that to be the most common thing. I love reading reviews that people wrote about you.
Yeah.
I love reading reviews that people wrote about any agent.
Sure.
Because it also gives you a window into their business. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh man, you really took care of them. Yeah. Look how you made these people feel.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's such a people business.
It is.
Okay. Are you ready for a toast?
I'm ready.
This one is from Christina Crow to Tara Deese. All right. She says, I would love to toast my fellow teammate, Tara Deese. We are both on the Laura Miller Edwards team at Keller Williams in Marietta, Georgia.
Marietta.
Mm-hmm. Tara introduced me to your podcast 2 years ago when I was a new agent, and I have been hooked ever since. Every time I was in the car driving to a showing or appointment, I was listening to your lovely voices telling me how to improve my business. Tara has been an essential part of my growth in my business as well. She was a fantastic mentor and resource in the beginning, and we are now accountability partners.
That's so great.
I love that. I am so blessed to have met Tara, and I'm thankful for the positive impact she has made in my business and every day as my friend.
That's really sweet.
Y'all write the sweetest toast. I love them so much. So cheers to Tara, and thank you to Christina. And y'all go out there and just be professional.
Yeah, just be professional.
Just be professional. You'll make me so happy. Think about me while you're being professional. Okay, goodbye.
Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Hustle Humbly podcast.
If you enjoyed this episode, please go to ratethispodcast.com/hustlehumbly and leave us a review or drop a comment if you're listening on Spotify.
If you have an episode topic or someone you'd like to toast on the show, please email us at team@hustlehumblypodcast.com.
Find us on social media at Hustle Humbly Podcast. Don't forget to find all of the free resources at hustlehumblypodcast.com/resources.
See you next week.
This is the good life.